deep inside the diamond-encrusted cave systems of South Africa's rugged Richtersveld region. Locals say a 60-foot biological titan is hiding in the dark. They call it the Grootslang. If you were to encounter this creature, the first thing you'd see is the head of a gargantuan African elephant. The mammalian anatomy abruptly stops. The legs completely disappear, and the torso fuses directly into the heavy, undulating body of a colossal snake. That serpentine half is wrapped in a thick, armored hide of overlapping charcoal black scales. According to the stories, this obsidian armor is dense enough to bounce a hunter's rifle bullet straight off. This fusion of warm-blooded mammalian bulk and cold-blooded serpentine muscle creates a biological contradiction that defies every rule of known zoology. To understand where an idea this bizarre comes from, we have to go above ground. For centuries, the indigenous Nama people of this rugged, sun-baked landscape have passed down a highly specific origin story. According to their oral history, the gods were still figuring out how to build a world. When they created the Grootslang, they miscalculated, giving a single animal entirely too much physical strength and raw intelligence. Realizing the severe danger of their error, the creators decided to dismantle the beast. They split the Grootslang's lineage into two completely separate animals, the elephant and the snake. But the separation process was flawed. One original, intact Grootslang slipped away before the gods could finish the job. It slithered deep into a lightless coastal cavern system known locally as the Wonder Hole. By escaping into the earth, this primordial biological error secured its own survival. It established itself as an immortal, highly calculating sentinel over the region's massive underground mineral deposits. Inside the Wonder Hole, the creature developed a specific obsession. The legends claim it spends its centuries hoarding raw diamonds and gold, dragging them into a central chamber that connects directly to the ocean. Inevitably, someone tried to test the stories. A famous Nama legend details a local hunter who quietly rappelled into the abyss, intending to slip out with a single handful of those gems. The hunter approached what looked like the gnarled trunk of a baobab tree coiled near the treasure. But as he reached for the gems, the wood shifted, revealing a massive, muscular length of charcoal black scales. The moment the hunter moved, the 60-foot hybrid struck. The animal's elephant head reared up from the darkness, unleashing an aggressive, deafening trumpet that physically shook the cave walls and sent the man scrambling back to the surface. The beast didn't need to chase him. The overwhelming scale of its body, combined with an immediate display of violent aggression, serves as an incredibly effective deterrent against human intrusion. For a long time, the stories kept the locals away. But by 1917, rumors of the subterranean diamond hoard had reached colonial prospectors. That year, an English explorer named Peter Grayson arrived to test his luck. Grayson led a party deep into the region's complex subterranean networks, navigating past massive limestone formations in search of the mythical gem chamber. Before they saw anything, Grayson's team heard it. They reported a sound echoing through the tunnels that resembled a heavy landslide. What they were actually hearing in the dark was the severe friction of a 60-foot scaly body dragging across rock. According to the last accounts, the creature finally emerged from a narrow rock shaft. Grayson's crew described an enormous trunk and tusks materializing in the dim light, anchored by a pair of cold, deeply calculated eyes. The rest of the party managed to flee back to the surface in a panic. Peter Grayson, however, never made it out of the Wonder Hole. With an established English explorer vanishing into the rock, the Grootslang lost its status as a simple campfire fable. The creature had just proven itself to be a lethal physical obstacle to the outside world. Following Grayson's disappearance, the legend of the Grootslang persisted as a grim warning. For a century, the creature remained a ghost of the desert, its lair protected by the terrifying accounts left by those who barely escaped. Today, however, prospectors don't need to climb down into the dark with a lantern. The rules of engagement have shifted toward remote subterranean scanning. This image shows a digital sonar readout from mapping drones. Pinging acoustic waves through rock builds high-resolution cave maps. As they compile 3D models, the software constantly scans for the 60-foot serpentine heat signature described in ancient Nama warnings. If the Grootslang actually exists in those depths as a physical, biological entity, this invasive acoustic mapping is going to ping right off its scales. By stripping away the darkness of the Richtersveld layer by layer, modern technology has turned an ancient myth into a quantifiable target. The hunt for the King of Diamonds has gone digital, and the Guardian of the Deep is finally running out of places to hide. For centuries, our understanding of the Grootslang relied entirely on oral traditions and faded ochre paintings left behind on cave walls. But in the modern era, the rapid expansion of industrial mining is driving deeper into the South African interior than ever before, reaching new depths that were previously inaccessible. This excavation is pushing into unmapped, high-pressure magma tubes, encroaching on environments that have remained isolated for millions of years. Rather than debunking the ancient myths, this industrial intrusion has simply shifted the search for the Grootslang away from the surface and into the dark voids of the deep interior. Because we can no longer rely on physical sightings at these depths, the investigation has transitioned to high-tech digital cave maps and sensitive seismic monitors. These sensors are now capturing 60-foot biological heat signatures, moving through subterranean chambers where no known mammal should be able to survive. The thermal blooms reveal a massive barrel-chested head and a long serpentine spine, an anatomical combination that matches no documented species in the fossil record. The consistency of this data suggests that these are not seismic glitches, but the heat signatures of a surviving biological relic inhabiting the lightless voids beneath the mines. In 2004, a mining expedition in the Northern Cape recorded a subterranean tremor. Initial reports assumed it was volcanic activity, but the rhythmic nature of the vibration suggested something else. Engineers deployed ground-penetrating radar, revealing the tremor was a 60-foot biological mass moving through a sand-filled cavern. The scan captured an elephant-like skull bearing dense protrusions. As shown in this 3D model, the morphology is consistent with ivory tusks. The radar tracked the mass as it undulated through the cavern, maintaining a fluid, high-speed movement despite the density of the surrounding sand matrix. Calculating the force required to displace that much sand at those speeds suggests a level of muscular density that far exceeds any documented subterranean animal. In 2015, the investigation moved into the limestone fissures of the Richtersveld. Researchers lowered a remote-controlled camera into a deep crevice to get a visual on a suspected nesting site. The mission ended abruptly when the camera was crushed by a localized force exceeding 10 tons of pressure, instantly severing the feed. Forensic analysis of the final frames captured this image, a massive prehensile trunk covered in dark, leathery scales, wedged tightly within the rock. The drone's LED light caught a pair of 6-foot ivory tusks, and the reflection of a lidless reptilian eye just milliseconds before the impact. This violent encounter provided the first direct proof of an aggressive apex predator in the deep, one capable of neutralizing modern survey equipment. The final breakthrough came in 2024, when a geologist discovered a piece of biological mold inside a desert cave, the first piece of the creature ever handled by human hands. The sample consisted of overlapping charcoal black scales. As seen here, a single scale is the size of a dinner plate and shows cracking from high pressure. Microscopic analysis confirmed calcium reinforcement, and the monitor shows traces of mammalian DNA that is 98% novel. This genetic evidence officially bridges the gap between digital anomalies and a living, breathing giant currently inhabiting the South African interior. Over the last 20 years, the evidence has evolved from folklore to radar blips, and finally to physical DNA. The Grootslang is a scientifically verifiable reality. Even with our advanced mining technology, the subterranean wonder hole remains one of the last places on Earth we cannot fully map or control. The data suggests the creature has returned to these lightless voids, moving through the deep chambers where it remains shielded from the surface world. As long as those charcoal-scaled bodies continue to move through the dark, the Grootslang remains the true and cunning master of the diamond caves.